from what you're saying about the work you've done, you're obviously delighted with the squad you're going to have at your disposal for the next half of the season.
Yeah, I think we have to be really pleased with what we've done. As I said, a lot of hard work went into identifying the targets. They're good quality players who have attracted interest from other clubs as well. So we fought hard to try and sell Dundee United and what our ambition is to them. And I'm delighted with how well those new players have settled in, because there's always a little bit of apprehension, especially when you're bringing guys from foreign shores, not sure whether they're going to settle into the country, the different culture, the different style of play from one country to the next. But I couldn't be any more pleased with how the whole thing has come together. We're not quite the finished article yet. We know that we've still got a hell of a lot of stuff to work on and to try and improve on in the coming weeks. But I think given the start to the season that we've had, unbeaten in 7 games now in all competitions, I think we're in a good place.
Are you getting Hearts at the right time?
I don't think there's ever a right time to play against one of the top teams in the country. I think they've had obviously not had the kind of start that they would have been hoping for. But Stephen Naismith, for me, is a very good young coach. I think they've done really well in the recruitment as well. I think you look at the way they went about it. I can understand the types of signings that they've made. Being involved in European competition and then trying to have players who can play in the domestic stuff, I think is quite a good way of doing it. Yes, things haven't clicked quite as well as they would have liked up to now, but you're always wary of playing against any of the good teams in the league, and at some point or another their fortunes are going to change, and we have to hope and make sure that doesn't happen against us on Sunday.
Just a final one from me. It's been a terrific start to the season for you. This next little block of games, the next 4 games, I think 3 of them are away from home, and Rangers are at Tannadice. I think that's right. It's quite a tough period coming up, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely is. I mean, Rangers after the international break at Tannadice is one that we can look forward to, and then obviously we've got 3 games on the road. Motherwell being the quarter-final of the League Cup in the middle of those league games. So some good, exciting fixtures to look forward to. But we don't want to try and look any farther afield than Hearts on Sunday.
Team news.
We're in great shape. Everybody's good. I mean, Ryan Strain, obviously the only long-term absentee. Everybody else is in a good place.
Jim, there's talk of Brandon Forbes going to Norwich. Is that going to be the case, do you think?
Well, there's been a lot of interest in a lot of our younger players up to now, and Brandon obviously caught the headlines when he scored that wonder free kick against Ayr United in the cup. He's a player that I've got real high hopes for, and I won't lie to you, there has been interest in him, but we're not in a position where we need to sell any players. Brandon's still got a hell of a lot of developing to do. As with any situation, when there is interest made in a player, sometimes a lot of these young players are very keen to get to England, and we can understand that situation as well. But unless it's right for us as a club in terms of the financial aspect of it, then nothing will be happening on that. And as of now, there's nothing concrete to give you.
How difficult a balance is it for the club and the young players themselves? Because as you say, it's quite attractive to go to England, but in another sense, they could disappear, and the alternative is to stay here and progress their career here.
Yeah, I mean, look, using Brandon as an example, he's only been at Dundee United for a little over 12 months. I loved what I saw last season when he was playing in the under-18s team, so much so that I brought him straight into the first team group for pre-season, and he's remained with us up until now. Since my time at the club, I've been, quite open in terms of trying to get as many of the young players onto the pitch as possible. We've given a number of debuts to players over my time in the last 12 months, the likes of Owen Sturton, Brandon, Adam Carnwath. We've got other young players who are featuring regularly for us. Kai Fotheringham had an unbelievable season last season in the Championship. Miller Thompson has already got himself off the mark on opening day. Ross Graham is an academy graduate featuring week in, week out. And of course, there does come times and situations where you need to assess the whole thing in terms of whether a player is going to break into the first team in the next 12 months, or whether the bid that's on the table is too good to refuse. And then of course you've got to balance that out with what the players hopes and dreams are as well. And it is very difficult to stand in the way of these young players at times, because our system, unfortunately, up here in Scotland at the moment is not really great for any of these young kids when they go beyond that under 18 bracket. Not all of us have B teams. There's a hell of a lot of cost involved with running a B team, and we don't have a reserve league, and that's what England have got on us at the moment, is the fact that using a Brandon Forbes as an example, can go down to England to play under 18s. He can also play under 21s down there for the next 3 years, whereas we can't offer that to any of our players. We then have to look at the loan system to get these young lads experience, and that's what we'll do with the likes of Sam Harding. Lewis O'Donnell is going into Queen of the South. Rory Adams is at Kelty, and that's the way we need to do it at this club, because we don't have a B team.
And we were speaking earlier to Lucas Stevenson, who's obviously come up here on loan. How pleased have you been with how he's settled in already, and obviously getting on the score sheet last week as well? Yeah, delighted with Luca. I knew how he would do anyway in terms of settling into the group, because I knew the type of character he was. I watched a lot of him when he was playing for Liverpool's under 21s as a midfielder, actually, funnily enough. But he played a number of games at wing back for Barrow last season on loan. So with the injury to Ryan Strain, it was an area in the pitch that we had to strengthen, and Lucas certainly came in and took that jersey, and if he continues to perform the way he has done consistently, then it'll be very hard to shift him out of that right wing back slot. But I'm delighted with all of the players, really. We've spoken long and hard about the new signings and how well some of them have done. But I did say, last week, I've got to give great credit to the group that were with us all last season as well, because a number of those players have really stepped up to the plate as well. Declan Gallagher looks as if he's back to his best, the Declan Gallagher that we all remember from 5 years ago. Louis Moult has played a real significant impact as well, came on last weekend for half an hour, led the line brilliantly with Jort van der Sande. There's so many, I could go through the whole lot of them. Jack Walton in goal, question marks around some of the squad. Could they handle the step up to the Premiership? And I think up to now they certainly have, but I think it's really important as well that we don't get carried away with the start that we've had, because we have to continue to work hard and try and improve, and if we do that, then we'll give ourselves a good chance, I think.
Jim, the Hearts fans last night absolutely furious with their team. Is that something that your guys can take advantage of at Tynecastle this weekend?
I think any away team, regardless of what ground you go to, I think wants to try and frustrate the opposition early doors, and you want to try and get that tension and that anxiety creeping in from the supporters. And Tynecastle is no different. Hearts last year were the third best team in the country by a mile, I felt. I thought they had a terrific season. It's probably where they would expect to be as a minimum requirement, I think, given the budget that's available, and obviously, Celtic and Rangers tend to battle it out for those top two positions. I suppose the next challenge now for Stephen Naismith is, how do you split the two Glasgow teams? Hell of a task for anybody. Nobody's been able to do it for a hell of a long time. But yeah, I know they'll be disappointed with the start that they've had, but we're not underestimating them. I think wounded animals can be very dangerous, and that's the way I look at Hearts at the moment. They're not going to continue to lose game after game after game. Something has to give at some point. They've got far too much quality in their team for them not to start winning soon. It's just our job to make sure that doesn't come on Sunday.
And what kind of game can you expect on paper? It looks like an attractive match.
Yeah, I think it's going to be an exciting game. I think we'll wait to see what type of system Hearts play. They've been playing with a 3-5-2 quite regularly, but I thought they finished the game really strongly last night when they went to the 4-3-3. So we'll just have to wait and see what that system looks like when the first whistle goes. But we tend to try and focus on ourselves. I think we've been very good at times in games. I think the one criticism that we've had of ourselves as a group is the consistency throughout 90 minutes. We've had good halves here and there. St Mirren was probably our most complete performance, in terms of we probably had about 75% of the game that we were really pleased with. And we just have to keep trying to build on that, and we respect Hearts. We know the quality of player that they've got that can hurt you, but at the same time I do genuinely believe that we've got players in our own ranks that can cause them one or two problems as well. So hopefully we see a very entertaining game for the supporters, and fingers crossed we can come out on top.
Thanks.
terms
Thanks.
of Hearts and Stephen Naismith, Jim, obviously last year, as you say, they were quite a distance clear in third, 5 defeats in a row, and now the fans are turning on Stephen, a lot calling for his head. Is that just the nature of football now, that you go on a little run like that and people are turning on you, calling for your...
Yeah, I mean, patience, I think, is a thing in the past. In football and in society, everybody wants results instantly, and in this game in particular, if you don't get them, then of course the pressure starts to mount on you. And I know exactly what Stephen's going through. Every manager in the league will, because we've all been there at one point or another. But I believe he's got the support of the people there up above at Hearts. I think they've got to look at what he done last season and where they finished in the table. I think for all of our teams, it does become a real challenge when you're involved in the European competitions. As much as you want to be there as a coach and you want to be there as a club, and the supporters love the trips around Europe, it can have a real negative impact on your domestic performances. And I think we've seen that across the board over the years with all of the teams that are competing. So as a country, we want the teams to be involved in the European competitions. I think something that we all have to learn pretty quickly is how to manage both sides of it, because you have to perform in every competition, and that's probably the one criticism of Hearts at the moment, that they haven't been able to balance that out properly, continuously trying to rotate the teams, trying to freshen things up. I think that's where the difficulty's been for Stephen and his players. But I've got no doubt, with the recruitment that he's done in the summer, with the quality that they've got in the squad, they must have one of the biggest squads in the country out with Celtic and Rangers, and it's up to Stephen to balance that and get things right, and I've got no doubt that he will do that.